Okay, let's get some lights on. Hopefully we got enough light. It's a little cloudy today at our house. All right, and let's see if I can see if I've gone live. Yay, look at that. Everything seems to be working today. Sorry about the hands in the front there. All right. Happy Saturday, everyone. Hopefully everyone's having a good Saturday. Just got back from the farmer's market, so love going to the farmer's market on Saturday. It's my one of my routines that I do, even if I don't buy very much. I just like going up and walking around. And being in Northern California, we have one every Saturday, rain or shine. So it's always a good thing. So coming live today. Tomorrow I've got a bunch of stuff going on, and I really did want to finish out the rest of the everyday you and me layouts. So we've completed all the layouts that were part of the kit, so part of the workshop. So we've completed all 3 of those layouts. Last week I did a layout with some of the leftovers from this particular workshop. And then what you see on my desk right now is pretty much everything that I have left. So I've got some big pieces of paper, some strips of paper. I had some cardstock left. I had other little bitty pieces of paper and cardstock that I had left that I've actually done some treatments to already to prep for this, so you didn't have to watch me die cut. And I had some leftover of the chipboard pieces, and then I did have this one die piece out, and then I had these little circles that came out of the flowers that were left. So I've essentially taken everything out of this piece. I don't know that I'm going to save this. You certainly could save this and use this as a stencil. It actually has some interesting variations that might look really cool as a stencil. So I'm not sure yet if I'm going to keep this and use that or not, but that was a thought that came to me when I looked at it after everything was punched out, that, you know, at least for 1 or 2 uses, I might be able to create a background using this as a stencil. But I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to keep things relatively simple with this layout. All right, so what did I have? I had this strip of paper left that is, what's the length of this one? Just 10.5 inches. I had this longer strip that's 12 inches. I had this nice square that was cut out of something I can't remember what, that's 3.5. It's not quite a square. It looks like it's 3.5 by 3.25. I had this 12-inch piece of cardstock left of Lost Lagoon, I believe that is. And then I had another large piece of the specialty paper that only came as part of the kit, so that one piece. And then I had this shorter strip. And these 2 strips were roughly about 3/4 of an inch each. And then I had this piece that was left over that I had cut off from one of the layouts, and then I had some other cardstock pieces here. So what I decided is I probably could have stretched this piece to be across a double page layout. I could have cut it in half. I could have cut it this way, and in half this way and spread. But what I didn't have, or didn't feel like I had enough of, were some of these accessory pieces that I could span across 2 layouts, because I really only had these little bitty pieces left over here. And yeah, I probably could have made them work to have that happen, but I felt like I was really pushing it a lot. And did I really need another 2-page layout? Sometimes you have to know when to stop. And so for me, creating this 1-page layout, I felt like it used up the rest of this paper. I got what, 8 layouts, 2, 4, 6, 8 layouts, double page layouts. This gives me the 9th layout. So like I said, I probably could have made it another 2-page, but I was sort of ready to say that I was done with this paper set. Now I did order another set of this particular paper pack. I really love this DSP. I obviously won't get this specialty paper, but I really love this DSP, and I think I'm going to um, run a special workshop with some of the other layouts that my upline has created, and maybe run that as a special workshop for people who have bought something from me, and just create this private group where I will provide the instruction on how to put some more of these layouts together. Again, I really think this is a versatile paper pack and can be used for lots of different things, especially because you've got this great stripe, these great dots, this ombre watercolor paper. I don't think it necessarily has to be feminine or masculine. I think you can use it for lots of things. All right, so with that, there are a couple of things that I decided I was going to do. So one thing was, again, because I had this piece of paper left and I had this piece of cardstock left, that's the Pretty Peacock cardstock, I thought, okay, as I was trying to lay this out, I decided what was it that I wanted to use. And I really did want to use the flowers on this, and I had these really great pieces of paper. But one of the problems was I didn't have enough to span both a top and a bottom. So I'm going to show you how I solved for that. The other thing is that these pieces were kind of small for me to use, especially this one. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So what I started to look at is my dies. And as I was looking through my dies, I thought, okay, well, maybe I can make some tags out of these. And so I took 2 of the dies that are part of the Something Fancy stamp and die set. So Something Fancy dies. So these dies, there's a larger and a smaller that has this scalloped edging on it, right? So it's got that nice scallop. And then there is something interesting about this die set that is on the retired list, by the way. So this is going to retire at the end of this catalog, which is in about a little less than a week, I think. It retires on the 6th of May, I believe is the date. But what it has is it has these pieces, and there's one that is a leaf, and there's one that's a flower, and I'm just going to pull it off of my board. I have these up on a board, not in packaging, which is why I showed you the catalog versus trying to show you it in a sleeve. So it had this leaf design, it has this sort of tulip design, and then it has this teardrop design. And what's really cool about this is that they lay right inside of these 2 scalloped pieces, right? So when you cut this out, you are actually able to layer these together on your die cutting machine, and you can create a tag that looks like that. So for me, I really felt, based off of the types of flowers and things that, and the pieces I had left over, that the leaves were a better option than this flower. This flower doesn't really match the sort of abstract rose flowers that you see here. So that's why I went with the leaf option versus the flower option, even though this is flowers. So again, if you take a look, there's a bunch of dies that come as part of this. The 2 scalloped ones, there's some oblong ones, some squared off ones, and then you have these inserts. There's also a hexagon, and then like a sentiment strip one. So again, it was, you know, pretty versatile, and I hadn't really used this die set, even though I got it last year. And so I thought, okay, this might be a perfect chance to kind of use up some of these smaller pieces and create some tags with it. So that's where the tags came from. Then I had a strip of Pretty Peacock that was still left. So I had this nice strip of Pretty Peacock, and I didn't have a title. There wasn't a title that was left because I had used up all the stickers and all of the die cuts on the last layout. So what I did is I pulled out, I'm just dropping everything on the ground today. I pulled out my Alpha a la Mode set, and I decided I was going to use that to create a title. And I really went very basic. I just said springtime. Again, it is springtime. It's a spring-like layout. It could pretty much say anything, but I just went with springtime. I took our foam pieces, and now I'm not seeing that on my desk. I thought I pulled them out and left them out. Oh, here they are. So I took our foam adhesive sheets and I laid out my dies to just see how big my piece was, and it ended up working out to be almost a perfect size for that foam sheet. So I just cut it down. So now I have 2 strips. I cut it down to the size of my piece of paper, and then I ran this through my die cutting machine. And I did run it through a couple of times and it looks like it's okay, but I did put my green tape or washi tape right on top so that I could keep all of the pieces together and not falling apart and moving around when I ran it through the die cutting machine. So that's what I used for that. All right, so the other thing that was left was, again, like I said, these pieces from the die cut sheet, and I really would like to try to use up as many of these as I can. Now I definitely feel like I can use the flowers, I can use the hearts. What I wasn't sure I would be able to use are these pieces up here, so we're going to play around a little bit with that once we get the rest of this layout together. All right, so we're going to just move a couple pieces aside. So the first thing I need to do is I actually need a piece off of this piece of paper that is 3/4 of an inch wide, okay, because I want it to match there. So I'm going to figure out which end is my longest end, and it's this end here. This one's a little bit shorter, so I want to cut this way. And the good thing is that this is not a directional pattern, so it doesn't really matter, you know, the way I cut it. It's not going to show. So I'm going to put it in my trimmer and I'm going to go to 3/4 and I'm going to trim that piece. So now I've got a 3/4 of a piece there, and then I've got this little extra piece here. I don't know if we'll use that. That one we may just say that we are done and we are not going to be using any more of that paper. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to start doing our adhering. So my idea is that I wanted this flower paper at the bottom, then we're going to have in the center the light gray, what is this? This might be gray granite. I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look at the paper. Anyway, the gray with the white, and then we're going to layer the Lost Lagoon on top of that, and then we're going to have this strip here, and then at the top, we're going to have, again, this flower border. So again, super simple pieces of paper that you can work with. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I just want to make sure that I get this first piece centered on my layout. And this piece is 7.5 inches. And so where this is going to sit is, what I want to do is try and get it. It's going to not quite probably be exact, but I'm just looking at this. So this is 2 2.25 down. Let's see if we got 2.25 here. 2.25. So we're going to come 2.25 up from the bottom, and it'll be 2.25 from the top. And we're gonna go ahead and put this piece down first. So this is going to be our anchoring piece. Like I said, you could split this apart and you could probably get another layout out of this. But I didn't feel like that was necessary, and I actually am going to get a lot of pictures on this just with the way that I'm laying this out. All right, so I'm just using my Versamat here to lay that down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Lost Lagoon, and this piece is 5.25. And again, I want to center this in this particular now it's going to be a little bit different because it's not exactly the same size as the other piece. It's not, these are just leftover pieces. So what I'm going to end up doing here is doing a little bit of eyeballing for this one to be centered. And none of these are going up on 3D foam tape. We're not gonna pop these guys up. So I'm just looking and just trying to see if I'm getting this somewhat even. And it looks like I'm at about 3 and in between 3 and 3.25. And that looks like that's pretty even. And again, I'm trying to match it up on the other side and see that we're all even there. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. That looks pretty good. I've got a pretty even amount. Okay, so now I'm going to take my longer strip and I'm going to put this at the bottom and just butt it right up against that flower paper. And then I'm going to take these two pieces and I'm going to put them at the top. And there is going to be a gap, but I'm going to show you how we're going to fill that and hide it. And so we're just going to put this one up here. Make sure we're lined up like so. And we're going to take this guy and put that one here. So we do have this gap, but we're going to fill that. We're going to make that not be so obvious as we put this layout together. Okay, so the last piece is I'm actually going to take this strip and I'm going to put it in the center here. This is just a visual use of this paper. I'm going to have pictures that are going to lay on it, and we're going to see just a little bit of it, but I'm just trying to make sure that the paper is getting utilized, and this sort of seemed like the best place for it to go. Again, I'm just eyeballing the center of that and putting that down. Okay, now that we have that, we can bring in our pictures. So the pictures that I decided I was going to use, I was going to use a 4x6, and I believe, yeah, we're going to do this horizontal. I've got some 4x4s here, and then I'm going to add some 3x4s over on this side. And this is how I'm really going to sort of hide the fact that I've got this gap here. Is I'm going to lay my photos in such a way where that gap essentially is disappearing. You don't know that there isn't paper underneath this. And this just allows me to create that illusion that I have a complete strip without having a complete strip of paper. But you can see I'm actually getting quite a few photos on this single page layout. Now you can substitute one of these, like this one could be a journaling block. If you want this to be a journaling block, you could do that. You can take away a photo and make it a single page photo, make a bigger photo and cover that space as well. But from my perspective, I always try to get as many photos on as I can. And so this really helped me do that. Okay, so I feel like I'm a little bit crooked here, but I guess not. Maybe I did put it down crooked, but anyway, hopefully it's not too crooked. All right, so now that we know this, I am not going to put any photo mats on these either. But what I am going to do is I am going to pop them up on 3D foam tape to give them some elevation. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with the photos on the bottom because there's more of them and I want to get those lined up first. And that way I can put my 4x6 where it looks good. Now, you want to again make sure that you're not putting foam tape at the very top or the very bottom, because you might want to add things underneath these pictures or slip things around them, depending on how you want to do your embellishments. So that was probably a little bit too close to the top, but we'll make it work. And then we're going to do this on our last, our 3x4. So I would be curious how often people are taking the leftovers from a kit that they might have and are actually creating, or how much of it is ending up in your stash where you're not actually using the paper. I know there was a time when I was very much, I would make up the kits or the workshops, and then I would put the paper away and try and save it for another time or another project, and I never got around to it. And so what I find is by, you know, just completing using the paper up, it doesn't obviously add to my stash, but B, it allows me to create layouts. Even if I don't have pictures, I've got layouts ready to go for when I find the pictures that I might want to put with it. Okay, I'm just trying to keep, shoot, that shifted. So for me, this just helps me use up the paper so it's not ending up in my very small craft room with all the other things that I have in here. And I really do think there's, you know, I've talked to other people, and the reality is that, you know, styles go in and out of, you know, out of style. You know, the designs that seem to work really good now don't always work, say, in the future. Things that you might like today, you don't always like a couple of years from now. And if you take all that stash and you look at all these pretty papers and you are contemplating, oh, that's too pretty to cut, you know, I really like it, but it's just too pretty to do anything with. What happens is that it gets stuck in your stash. You look at it and it's pretty, and then all of a sudden, oh, I don't really like that style anymore. But if you had actually cut up that paper and done something with it and utilized it in some way, whether it's for a scrapbook page or whether it's for a card or whether it's for junk journaling or anything like that. I'm just trying to line these guys up so that they're symmetrical. Then what happens is that you end up with all of these kits or these paper packs that maybe you don't like anymore. And, you know, that's not a good use of your money. It's not a good use of your crafting time. And so, you know, one of my goals is if I like a paper pack, then yeah, I want to use it. I want to use it now. I don't want to use it in the future. I don't want to hoard it, I guess is kind of my point. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is sort of center this 4x6 in between these 4x4s. And I'm trying again to line it up with the very top of that strip of paper. Okay, so actually I gotta double check something because I need to slip these guys here. Okay, so we're good. We're good. I can get in there. So anyway, that's my little soapbox item for you today to get you to use your papers. All right, so now I've got my photos down. They're all on 3D foam tape. And now I've got these two tags here that I am going to put underneath that photo. Again, this is also giving some visual interest to the photo, as well as, you know, in some ways hiding the fact that I have that gap, even though you can't really see it unless you looked down the side of the photo. or down the side of the layout. So I'm going to just put some adhesive on this, and we're going to slide these guys in. And you could do some coloring, you know, you could add some color up here at the top if you wanted to. I'm actually going to put this one a little bit higher here, and I'm kind of going offset. I'm not going to go right in the middle of that photo. And then I'm going to put this guy on top. Oops, that looks a little crooked. I'm going to come in here like that. Like that, okay? And I don't really have any adhesive up here. I think I probably needed a little bit of adhesive up here. There we go. Okay. So now we've got our tag up there at the top. So the next thing I want to do is I actually want to take my my die cuts for my title, and I'm going to place my title. I thought I might place it down here, but I might change my mind on that. So we're going to just take these guys off here. And I didn't separate this out because I was afraid of losing the pieces. Even though I'm using this nice mat that was part of the glass mat. If you purchased the glass mat, you got this piece over here. And it's a nice way to kind of keep things from sliding around or putting things. I usually use little buckets or little, not buckets, but little containers, but all of mine are either being used right now or they're dirty. So I didn't want to use them. So this is going to be tedious because I didn't take these all apart because I did want to show you kind of how I added the adhesive sheet and then how I set up the cutting of this. So we're going to go ahead and hopefully gently be able to take this apart. I do find with both this die, shoot, I lost the back of that. Got to be careful with that. With this die and with the other alphabet die, that you really want to put the adhesive on before you cut. These are really narrow pieces, and I hate using liquid glue. I usually get it everywhere, and I get too much. It's not a technique that I've mastered using, and so I just like having the adhesive on there. So either using adhesive sheets, or in this case, the fact that I'm using the foam sheets, that allows me to create the dimension that I want, and it sticks. It's two-sided foam, so it sticks to my paper, and then it allows me to stick it to my layout. So again, I'm just trying to be gentle. These are narrow little pieces. So I'm trying to pull these out, and I apologize. I probably should have done most of them before I turned on the camera. I didn't quite think that through. So I did put a poll up about a week ago about if anyone was interested in a scrapbooking club, which is kind of what I was alluding to a little bit earlier, and if anybody would be interested in that. There's a couple of ways it could go, where I place the order and I send you the kits, or you can place an order for the supplies and then you could join the group. I'm just trying to gauge whether or not that's of interest to anybody. Really what I'm trying to do is do more of a community thing of getting together and spending an evening, a Friday or a Saturday evening, maybe even a midweek meeting evening, putting things together, crafting together, and in whether or not there is an appetite for that. I don't know if there is. I don't know if people are interested in that or not. I'm not here to sell. I'm not a good salesperson. Never have been, never probably will be. It's just not in my DNA, I don't think. And So, you know, I'm not looking to bust anybody's budget or do anything like that. But I know that sometimes it's just nice to get together and do things. And a lot of the support that I get from my upline, I have to do in a private group. I can't do like I'm doing this one. This one's my own design, my own thought process, and this I can share freely on YouTube. But a lot of the stuff that I get that allows me to not have to spend hours and hours creating on my own, I can just leverage what she gives me. But those things I have to do in a private group. And I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that and if there's an interest. Because if there isn't, that's fine too. I'll just continue to pop on here as on my lives when I get a chance. I do work a full-time job as the CEO of a AI company. And so, you know, I do this as a way for me to decompress, as a way for me to get creative and do something different than what I do in my everyday job. And 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 doing the YouTube lives or even the recordings allows me to be it makes it purposeful. Like I don't put it off. It's like, oh, okay, it's you know, I'm going to do something once a week. And I'm doing lives now because I just don't have time to do video editing. I just don't. Uh, there are too many other things going on. I spend way too many hours at the computer already, and I really don't want to spend any more hours video editing. So that's why I've been going live instead. So you get me unabridged, unfiltered, and whatever comes to my mind as we're talking here. But for me, that works better. And so for me, this is really just a way to kind of keep me crafting and creating and doing this. And it's almost like an appointment on my calendar that says, okay, well, you need to think about what you're going to create this week. And so that's, for me, that's why the lives work better than trying to be trying to be more precise, because I never know what my week's going to look like, and some weeks are better and I have to travel and I don't always get a chance to create when I'm getting ready to travel. So anyway, giving you lots and lots of babbles right now. Sorry about that. Like I said, I probably should have punched the majority of these out and just shown you, but it is what it is. So anyway, back to what I was saying. You know, if there's some interest to do like a monthly get together and put together 1, 2, or 3 layouts, like I said, I do have a really cute design from my upline for this paper where she created 3 layouts. You know, I might entertain that to do something like that. And I've bought the paper that I need, and I can put together kits to send to people if they're interested in doing that. And then you can either use your own stamps and dies, or you can use the ones that are part of the design. So anyway, that's a long way of saying I like to do these. I'd like to create the community of getting together, but I want to make sure that that's something people are interested in. All right, so finally, we are done with that. Okay, so I'm going to just lay these out again, and I'm going to just decide if I want to do this, and I'm just going to be careful because some of the adhesive is popped off. So I'm just seeing which way I want to do this. If I want this up here at the top, which I'm looking at this right now and I feel like it's too crowded up at the top. And I don't think I want to separate them to have top and bottom. So I think I do want this down at the bottom. So we're going to bring these guys down. Again, it's a little bit more, it's still a little bit crowded because I didn't move these pieces up. I gave them a lot of space. And I don't know if I can move these. I probably should have laid this out first, but this is part of designing. And since I didn't write down any measurements, I just made some visual decisions, but I don't know that I might want to move these up just a hair. And I didn't push these down too far, so that's good. So I think if we can, we'll move these guys up just a smidge. Oops. And I'm just hoping I don't tear any paper while I do this. Oh, that one just definitely tore the paper, so I just gotta make sure that I've got, that I'm not tearing it too much. Where I can't hide it. I should still be able to hide any torn paper. Gotta be gentle when you're using foam tape, because it is, yeah, see, I tore some paper, but based off of where I have these landing right now, all of that should be hidden. Okay. One more. And that just will give me a little bit more breathing room, eye space. That won't look quite as crowded by moving these up, even though these will be now not nice and pretty photo mats anymore. I'm feeling the paper tearing, but again, I think we're gonna be able to hide it without a problem. Okay, oops. Uh-oh, hopefully I didn't just lose some of my letters. I almost did. Okay, hold on. I got some sticky going on. Got some things sticking to things. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is going to give me a little bit more space down here at the bottom, which will make me a little bit happier. Okay, and then I've got the time here. I'm not going to put the eye down because I don't have a backer on that one. Okay, so I'm dry laying or dry fitting this first, because I do want to put some flowers over here, and I want to make sure that I've given myself enough space, which I have not. So I want to put one of these roses here. I was going to layer those 2 roses. So if I do that, I just need to move things over just a smidge. Again, that is a technical term, technical measurement term. And then I've got spring, time here. And then my other thought was that I was going to grab this flower here. I wanted to put this one, no, that was the opposite. I wanted this one over here, and I was going to put that one up there. Okay, so this is where I thought maybe I could use these flowers here, like so. So again, I'm just doing some dry fitting to see if I like how that looks. I like this one flower, but I'm not sure I like the other one. Okay, that might work. And then I had these hearts, and I was hoping that I could use some of these hearts as well. So I thought I could make a cluster of hearts here, and maybe a cluster, of hearts over here. Now you certainly don't have to use all of these pieces up, and maybe a heart over here as well, like that. I don't think that I'm going to get this. I don't feel like this actually works on any of this, so I think this is just going to be an extra piece. The only other thing is I do think I want to add some color to these. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same technique that was part of the um, workshop. Is I'm going to just grab a piece of paper and I'm going to add some color to a couple of these embellishments. So I'm going to take the pecan pie again and I'm going to just add some color to this, similar to what we did on the previous layouts. Again, trying to add a little bit more depth and dimension to these pieces. So again, this is the original, and then that's the one that we added some color to. So this will just give it a little bit of dimension off of that. And then I think I'm going to do the same thing with these flowers here. There's a little bit more, I think. Okay, that looks good. And I think I'm going to do this one as well. All right. Okay. Let's see. I don't know if I want to do any of these hearts. You know, let's just do one of the hearts and then we can see if we like it or not. Okay. Sorry, I ran out of things to talk about. So I'm focusing on this. Okay, so we're going to do that. We may come back and add some color to the hearts as well. So we're going to just set this aside for the moment because we may end up doing more with that. But let's get these pieces down and then we can do some more addition. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I do want to get these bigger pieces down that are going to go over here because this is going to be where I actually start putting my letters down. If I put my letters down, then I might not leave myself enough space for these embellishments. So I'm going to just add some adhesive here, and we're going to place that, and then we're going to just layer this one on top, like so. And see, just by adding that little bit of color, it actually creates that separation and allows some dimension there just by adding that little bit of color, which really makes me happy. Okay, so we're going to add our letters, trying not to deform them too much. Again, these are really thin and it's on very sticky foam tape. So I'm going to try and keep them straight, and I'm going to try and keep them in a row down here at the bottom. All right. I actually really like, these are some of my favorite colors too, these aqua colors. So I really like the lighter Lost Lagoon in the middle, and then having the accent of the pretty peacock in the letters. I think that's it's a nice combination of that light and dark together. Okay, so we got the spring, and now we'll add the time. Again, you can put any sort of title here that you want. Oops, that looks crooked. Let's see if we can get that straight. That looks okay. TI. Let's grab my I that's stuck over here. All right. And then we just have a few embellishments left that we need to do, and we will be done with this layout. And then what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to just pull out all the I'm going to pull out all the layouts that we created, just so that you can see the sort of variety of those layouts. Oops. Hold on. I'm afraid I'm going to tear this if I'm not careful. It's pretty sticky. Okay, springtime. There we go. Okay, so we're going to grab this and this. I think I need to add a little bit of color to this. Okay, like so. Okay. All right, so let's put this down. We're going to lay this one down first, and then we're going to layer this guy on top of that. So I think since the last time I did, well, we didn't really talk about this the last time, but Stampin' Up! Has made a change to their program. They don't have a hostess program anymore. That happened this month, and it's now in a rewards program where you get for every $20 you spend, you get 10% in Stampin' rewards. So in case you guys didn't know that, that is something new. That is part of, I actually feel like that one might need to get popped up. Let's pop that one up. We're going to get a little dimensional for that if I have one available. We're going to take a small dimensional because that's too big otherwise. So just in case people didn't know that, there is a new rewards program that has been launched by Stampin' Up! And the nice thing about that is that, you know, whatever you buy, the rewards go to you. So again, there isn't a hostess involved anymore. It's whatever you buy is going to count towards your reward program. Okay, so I'm just making some changes about where I want things. So I'm going to just play around a little bit with this. I'm going to add a heart here. Like so. And let's see, I think we might let's grab one more heart. We're going to do one of the solid ones. Create a little triangle there. And then I think we're going to go ahead and ink up this heart. And just using what's left on my brush. Give it a little bit of color. And we'll add that here. And we're going to be almost done with this layout. Let's see, how do I want this? Right there, right here. Okay, let's do that, like so. And I did like this heart. I liked having that heart. I think I'm going to do another one Let's see if I've got enough ink left on this brush to do one more. And again, I am probably over embellishing right now. I probably don't need to do quite as much as what I've done. This is probably a little bit more than I usually do. But, you know, I've got these extra pieces, and honestly, I'm not good. I've got lots of embellishments and things, a lot of little doodads and things that I have in my collection. And just adding these into my collection doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get used. So I'm just trying to get as many of them used so I don't feel bad about whatever I might throw away. Okay, so I really don't like this, so we're going to change this and put it underneath because I don't like how that's looking. Okay, and so let's see. Maybe let's grab a heart for over here because I'm feeling like that's looking a little lonely over there. Let's ink this up. And I think once I put that one there, I think we're going to be good. I think we're going to call this layout done. Yep, I think we're going to do that. So we got a couple of hearts left, but for the most part, I think we've done a good job in utilizing up the pieces and creating a great layout of that houses quite a few pictures. Actually, we've got five pictures that can go on that particular layout. Okay, so like I said, I wanted to bring in the other layouts that we created. So last week we created this layout using the leftover pieces of the kit, using mostly strips and the last two stickers and some of those chipboard pieces. And I'm going to just pull these out. I've put these kind of away. This was layout number 1 here that we created. And that was from the workshop itself. This is layout number 2 that we created. Oops, turn that over, layout number 2. There we go. And then layout number 3, which I thought I was going to modify, but didn't end up modifying too much, other than I popped up the frame on that. So that's layout number 3. All right, that is it. We have completed and used up everything in this particular kit except for these few pieces that you see here. So we've got a little bit of scrap. I'll keep this piece because this is a nice big piece of cardstock. We have this little piece and some strips, and then a couple of die cuts. That's it. That's all we have left. So good utilization of the kit, and we got some really nice layouts that we can use for beach, for spring, for mountains. I would use these for anything that I would have in the woods. I think these are very versatile colors for anything that is outdoors and that you might have pictures for. All right, I appreciate everyone. Oh, thanks, Jacqueline, if you're still here. I just saw the note. And I appreciate it. Yeah, they're simple layouts, they are for sure, and can be used pretty much across any collections that you might have. And this one I probably will turn into a sketch that can be utilized, but again, I think that's the same for pretty much any one of these that you're seeing here. All right, everyone, have a great Saturday. Enjoy, and hopefully you'll have a wonderful weekend. I will see you on my next live. Bye.